Greetings, humans of Earth. Welcome. What do you know? The Black Friday UFO live stream coming at you. So I have this live stream is being brought to you by Beneath the Haunted Sky, the evidence for alien abduction, which you can pre-order now at the link in the description, and it will be released in a week, 7 days. Can you believe it? It's going to be 7 days, and the book comes out. And so I thought I just wanted to come on and say hello to everyone. Hope you had a very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. I am sitting here right now, feeling fat as a house, but happy about it. And I hope you are too. So I wanted to bring a news story to you. And this has to do with the Space Force, the U.S. Space Force. And they have a new story that was from space.com. And it says U.S. Space Force wants to track abnormal observables with unknown origins in Earth's orbit. Most of the time, these are objects launched by other nations. And the story says the U.S. Space Force wants to be able to identify and track mysterious objects in orbit. By the way, you can find the link to this story in the description as well. The Space Force's Space Training and Readiness Command, or STARCOM, which is tasked with educating and training U.S. Space Force personnel, now called Guardians, by the way. And if you read my book or you've watched some of my videos, you understand the irony of that title. They recently published a document titled Space Doctrine Publication 3-100 Space Domain Awareness that outlines what space domain awareness is, how to establish and maintain it. In a nutshell, space domain awareness means being able to identify, understand, track, and maintain custody of all of the various objects in orbits around Earth. Now, most of the document describes the need to maintain a safe environment by monitoring and tracking such objects as pieces of space debris, the ever-growing number of commercial satellites, spacecraft operated by adversaries, and the hazards posed by the space environment and natural debris such as meteoroids or solar flares. However, the document goes on to note that operating safely in space also requires the ability to rapidly identify and respond to threats and hazards, including objects that exhibit abnormal observables and patterns of life and cannot be correlated to any owner or point of origin. So, what might these objects be? Most of the time, these are objects launched by other nations. The STARCOM document points out that it is imperative for the safety of space operations that the United States not only knows where objects and spacecraft are at any given time, but also how they got there, who owns them, their potential capabilities, and their operator's intent. The publication goes on to outline the many ways this ability can be achieved, including the use of radar systems, infrared and optical sensors, radio frequency monitoring, orbital space weather stations, and by using information produced by the intelligence community. Still, even with the multitude of ways the U.S. Space Force and other organizations keep track of objects in Earth's orbit, recent events demonstrate how some can go unattributed. For instance, do you remember the Rogue rocket that was seen hurtling toward the moon? Nobody knows who did that still to this day. Somehow slipped by us, launched from Earth, yet slipped through our fingers. Earlier in 2014, space tracking stations observed an unknown object alongside 3 Russian satellites. It was believed to be either an anti-satellite device or an inspector spacecraft, but it ultimately remained unidentified. I'm going to get to here's the important part here. And in 2022, the Pentagon created ARROW, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, who we and the UFO community are all very familiar with. whose mission is to attempt to detect, identify, and attribute anomalous, unidentified space objects, as well as those in air or water, or those that appear to travel between these domains. That's a very interesting sentence. So far, the office has found no credible evidence that any of these anomalous objects are extraterrestrial in origin. But despite the need for more awareness of what is in space and who might be operating it, space domain capabilities for space awareness are still lagging. Space Force's Chief of Space Operations, General B. Chance Saltzman, said in April 2023. This is a whole lot. Hi, Chrissy. This is a whole lot of covering their ass. That is what this is, guys. This is, they say, so far the office has found no credible evidence that any of these anomalous objects are extraterrestrial in origin. But they never tell us what credible evidence means, do they? You ever notice that? How these guys are always talking about there's no evidence, but they don't say what their threshold for evidence is. Isn't this such a convenient get out of jail free card of, well, we just don't know because there's no evidence. When I'm like, guys, I'm a guy with zero budget standing on the ground who just published a book of more evidence than anyone would ever need. And I'm not the only person who ever did. I mean, look at this guy. You ever heard of this guy? Eric von Daniken, Chariots of the Gods. Ever heard of it? This book gives you a lot of evidence. And this is from the late 60s, and we have people today like myself who are abduction experiencers, who have been contacted, who have interacted with an extraterrestrial species. But you say, oh, there's no evidence. Well, there's no evidence because you won't say what evidence is. Say we have to define evidence before we can say whether we have it or we don't have it. And that just seems to be the fact of the matter. But it leads me to a bit of a greater, a bit of a broader thought. Bear with me. The broader thought is, what is the state of our science today? What is the state of ufology? Has anyone seen the needle move in the last 50 years? Because I haven't. Do you understand that we are still chasing our tail and shrugging our shoulders since the 40s? We got more truth out of the ancients. We got more reality out of the ancients than we have today. We have, and I'm sorry if this offends someone, but we have become more and more delusional as a species as time has gone on. I have never seen anything like the delusion that I have seen in human beings the last 10 years. But we keep going in circles and saying, I can't find it. I can't find it. I can't find it. But you're going in circles. You're not taking a different direction. You're not changing your methods. You're not changing your philosophy. You're not changing your science or your approach. So of course you're not changing your results. If you joined me on the last live stream or you've watched it, then you understand how lost we are when it comes to physics, when it comes to gravity. We haven't changed our thinking on physics. Therefore, we still cannot comprehend when we see science going on over our heads. We still can't recognize it as superior science because our science is not superior. It is delusional. And we have some very big proponents for that who are unfortunately very popular because they've been propped up by the mainstream media. When you have one of the world's worst apologists for physics who's being propped up on Joe Rogan over and over and over again. And and they know how to control human beings. If you want to control human beings, you stay in their face, and you just simply have the largest platform with who you want them to hear. And you just keep playing that on repeat over and over again. You know, this is why people have been lulled into a false sense of security or confidence in people like Dr. Stephen Greer or, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson and these people who are absolute shams. They are absolute shams. And you know why I get like 37 views in a week? Because I'm not bought and paid for by anyone. So they don't want to prop me up. I don't say what's popular. I say what's right. I say what's true. And anyone who listens to my live streams or my other videos, I, I don't get a lot of argument with my logic. Nobody seems to be able to argue with my logic, yet it somehow isn't, it hasn't caught on. I think that's about to change with the publication, the impending publication of my new book, Beneath the Haunted Sky, The Evidence for Alien Abduction, because I push science up against the wall and hold it there. The first 60 pages are simply just ripping physics apart. But I don't just rip it apart. I'm not one of those people who want to just point out problems. I like to find solutions. This is also another reason why perhaps I haven't been very popular until kind of recently. I've started getting some more attention from folks who seem to they catch on that oh yeah, that is true, isn't it? Oh, I guess that is a good point. And what I've noticed is that all these mainstream people, they avoid me like the plague, because there's only one thing in life that you can't get around, and that's the genuine article. And that's me, the genuine article, that I'm going to tell you absolutely to your face, respective of your societal status. I don't care how many followers you have or what show you've been on. If you're wrong, I'm going to call you out. And I'm not just calling you out just to do it. I will have actual good information. I will have taken a tact that no one else will take, and it's direct confrontation. And if there's one thing that people like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Stephen Greer or Michael Shermer, all these guys who are pseudo scientific skeptics, the one thing that they can't take is actual direct confrontation. That's why you'll never see me on Joe Rogan. I wouldn't go on his show if he called me up and asked me. I wouldn't do it, because I know that I'm there to be a talking head. I'm there because they want to try to get a narrative out of me that I am not going to go along with. And if I did, they know this autistic guy's going to make it ugly for us. Like, it's not going to be pretty, because I'm going to manhandle them intellectually. And somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson would never debate me in physics. I mean, he would be bleeding from every orifice by the time I was done, because I will just rake him over the coals. And I don't believe that he has the knowledge or the intellectual prowess to hold his own with me. And I don't say that egotistically. It's just true. If you watch my video, the toxic cult of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and you hear me, I just take him apart. There's nothing to argue with. He talks bollocks, mate. And so I call it out, and other people, like, he can get away with this with 90%, 95% of people, because they don't know enough about physics to know when he's talking wrong, when he's saying wrong things, or when he's overstepping his claims. But not me, because I've spent a life out of studying physics and studying Ed Leedskalnin. And what Edward Leedskalnin taught me is how wrong physics is, and more importantly, why it's wrong. You see, that's the important part. And I know why it's wrong. And I know the history. I know the concepts. I know the flaws. And so I will call these things out. And the only thing they can do is stick their hands in their pockets and turn and walk away. Because if they stand and try to debate me, I'm going to pull the sword of Leedskalnin out, and I'm going to cleave them in twain. And they know that. And so I've had kind of a slow start up until now. But I think that there are people who genuinely do want to have this truth. They genuinely want this information. They really do want things to change. And I want truth seekers. And when you are in a society of the delusional, truth seekers are hard to find. Um, I know that I don't have a big following right now, but I kind of take pride in that because I don't want everybody. I want the cream of the crop. I want the top 2%. I want the smartest people, the most honest people, the most sincere people who are actually after truth more than popularity, more than clicks, more than likes, more than all that stuff. That they're people who say, no, that is truth. And they hold truth to be the most precious commodity on this planet, like I do. And so now we have to go back and revisit things. Let's go back and revisit MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, and say, wow, these guys have been around since 1969. How big of an impact have they made in ufology? I would say none. And I would say that only because it's true. There are no results that they can point to and say, look at good work we're doing. Look at the science we've used to prove this or that. Every case that has ever in the history of MUFON ever been investigated by any of those guys who's got a patch on their arm and they're like a star member of MUFON, all this stuff. But you know what they've done? Nothing. They get there, they look around, they shrug their shoulders, and they come back home. Nowhere. Empty pockets. Why do you think that is? Would you hire? I mean, I can see why they do it for free, because no one would pay you to be that incompetent. They're all volunteers, and boy, doesn't it show. But I got to tell you, actual paid employed physicists aren't doing any better. And the reason is because we don't have a standard. We don't have a baseline. Nobody says this is the line between human and non-human. You know why? Because our science is terrible and it is flawed. And it is the key. And I think this is the one thing I've done is I've been able to zero in on what the issue is. And that issue is the fact that our science is completely, I'm sorry, it's fucked, guys. Like, it's completely 100% wrong. And then people say, well, we've had some of the smartest people in the world. What, are you smarter than Stephen Hawking? No, I don't think I'm smarter than Stephen Hawking. I don't think I'm smarter than anyone. It's not about smart, you know? And by the way, I know you hear sirens in every video. I live a mile from a hospital, so ambulance go down the street all the time. So I'm sorry about that. But one of the issues is that it's not about intelligence. I think, and this is, I kind of addressed this in the book too. I think of a rifle. Imagine the most powerful rifle that's ever been made. That's right, baby. You tell them. I'm sorry, it's my Bengal. Her name is Nadja Bloody Cravensworth. I love her to pieces, but she's very needy. Anyway, I think of a rifle. You think of the most powerful rifle ever made. And you put the most premium of ammunition into it. And then you point it 180 degrees away from the target. What are your odds of hitting the target? 0. I don't care if you have one of the brightest minds of all time. If it's misled right from the beginning, you are aiming in the wrong direction and you will never hit your target. I don't care if I've got a 22 rifle up here. At least I'm aiming at the target and I'm starting to lay them in pretty good. So it doesn't matter how smart you are if it's focused in the wrong direction. If you are on a misled path, if Newton discovers gravity, by the way, a 22-year-old guy in 1665 who discovered gravity, I say invented, but what he did was he realized a concept. He realized the concept of that apple was there and now it's fallen to the ground. Something acted upon the apple. Now that is a brilliant observation. However, everything after that is basically wrong, and nobody has gone back and revisited these facts. Is there anything else that we've kept the same since 1665? No, just the foundational principle of modern physics. Yeah, that doesn't need to go back and be revisited, does it? But we have it. So Einstein, one of the greatest minds, went back and just built off of Newton's theories without redoing the physics, because what Newton did was inductive reasoning, right? It's inductive. In other words, I can see things, I don't have all of the information, but I'm going to make a best guess, right? And his guess was pretty darn good. There's something acting upon that object that causes it to move from its stationary position. Something we can't see, something we can't touch, something we can't taste or smell. Like there's something acting upon that, and he wanted to know what that was. But Einstein did not go back and revisit his work with the benefit of the modern knowledge of his time. In other words, like for instance, Newton didn't know that there was a giant magnetic core at the center of our planet and that we are a giant magnet hurtling around other magnets in space. See, he didn't know that. I think if we go back in time and we give this information to Newton, we would have much different definitions of what we believe these forces, if you want to say forces, but gravity isn't a force. It is the equal and opposite reaction to the magnetic cohesion of matter. That really is what it is. And I outlined this, and I came up with some calculations and theorems that can be used to theoretically calculate this interaction. And what we have is that gravity is a balancing act between the magnetic cohesion of matter and the displacement of space-time. That is what gravity is. And no one can argue with me about this. But we have physics, and you have Einstein building on Newton's work and just assuming his inductive reasoning is correct about the physical reasons for this attraction. And even the fact that Newton says it's a pull, that gravity pulls things down. How do you know the difference between a push and a pull if you can't see what's doing it? It's a guess. And he had a 50-50 chance, and he guessed wrong. Gravity is not a pull, it's a push. It is the pushing down of space-time around an object that has displaced it. See, as matter collects together, it pushes space out around it, and this space, once it gets displaced enough, it creates a curvature because it's trying to push back in on the object. This is why everything in space is round. Sorry, flat earthers, I hate to make you mad. You know, I'm going to have flat earthers from all around the globe sending me emails. But all jokes aside, everything in space is round. And the reason is because all these objects that are exhibiting this magnetic cohesion, I really got to stop talking with my hands. All this magnetic cohesion, well, what it does is it forces space out around it, and space is attacking and trying to get in at every angle, which is 360 degrees or a circle. So when you have this going on, this battle between the magnetic cohesion of matter and the displacement of space-time, well, everything will end up round eventually. So we have these flaws. But Einstein didn't go back and use deductive reasoning to check the inductive work of Newton. So now we have a flaw, and then Einstein comes on and builds more flaws based on those flaws, and then here comes Hawking to more flaws on top of Einstein's flaws on top of Newton's flaws. You see what I mean? And now what we've done is we're riding a handcart to hell now with flaws in physics, and we're just looking in the wrong direction. You can have the most powerful brain in the world, but if it's focused on the wrong thing, what good is it? And that's the dilemma that we are in. And we have become so arrogant and so delusional and so proud of ourselves that we can't believe that, oh man, we got this wrong 400, 500 years ago. Oh man, we had a good idea. We had a good idea, and we've botched it ever since. Good intentions, brilliant minds, Wrong target. That's the problem. And you have people who are deep thinkers, my friend. They're very deep thinkers. And they want to tell you about how deep they can think about the physical forces and counter space and these monosyllabic rants of absolute horseshit. They really are. And you can think, what was it Tesla said? That one must be sane to think clearly. One can think deeply and be quite insane. And that's where we are. We have a bunch of deep thinking, crazy people who think that it makes up for the fact that we are not thinking clearly. This is what Ed's gift was. Ed was able to think clearly and see through the illusion that is being presented to us through the all of the multiple flaws in physics. And that is my gift, is I have the ability to see through things rather than at them. Too many people take things at face value. They question nothing. They assume, well, this guy's on TV with a funny looking vest and a tie. He must be smart because Joe Rogan wants to talk to him. Are you serious? Get the fuck out of here. Joe Rogan wants to talk to The Rock, too, about the Israeli-Palestinian crisis. I mean, really, is he picking the greatest minds to talk to, guys? No. I think he picks people who are on his level, and I wouldn't say that Joe Rogan is going to win the Nobel in physics anytime soon. All right? He wants to make a show that relates to Joe Sixpack out there, which is perfectly fine, and there is nothing wrong with that. But don't take the mainstream popularity as validation for these people's supposed abilities, because none of them have made any significant contributions to the field in which they're supposed to be experts. Meanwhile, I'm on the outside, spitballing, but making progress. And it will just be a matter of time before people will be able to see the difference. And that is happening now. We're in a shift now. I feel it. Do you feel it? I just, there is a new energy that's given me renewed purpose. That I can feel that the change is happening right now. And I thought this would be the perfect time to release my book, Beneath the Haunted Sky, because I feel like it is finally going to be read properly by people who are actual truth seekers. I think there's a lot of folks out here who are tired of the lies, who are tired of the nonsense, who are starting to see, things aren't really adding up, are they? We have MUFON, who's been investigating UFOs for 60 years, but hasn't been able to prove the existence of a single one. We have Space Force, who has satellites and guardians and technology and computers and they have everything. They have every resource. We just can't seem to nail down anything that we can see as extraterrestrial. Meanwhile, I have a book of evidence I published from things I collected standing on the fucking planet. Okay? I have no resources. My budget is $11. And somehow I'm outdoing NASA. Somehow I'm outdoing Space Force. I'm outdoing Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku and all of these great people and all of these great organizations with all of their amazing resources, and me with a digital camera from 2008 is kicking your ass. I think somebody's lying here. And I'm not, because those pictures don't lie. I'm not lying about any of my experiences. I'm not sitting around drawing imaginary pictures of things that never happened to me from 12 years ago that was never going to benefit anyone. Who's doing that? No. And what I think is that we are being absolutely lied to. We're being huckabucked, folks. And I think it's time that people stood up to it and said, why don't we give somebody else a chance at the wheel here? Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku, maybe when it comes to ufology, you guys should sit down and shut up for a little bit. And maybe give this guy, the weird guy with the tattoos, maybe let's give him the laser pointer and you sit down and maybe listen for a little bit, because you might learn something. And what you're going to learn is that your physics is wrong. And you know what? This is such a psychological hurdle, isn't it? It's such a hurdle to get over the fact that we are crushingly, embarrassingly wrong, and that we are going to have to backtrack quite a ways, unfortunately. Yeah. We're going to have to backtrack quite a ways. We are going to have to go back and re-examine everything that we thought we knew with a fresh perspective, a more correct perception, with the rifle pointed at the target for a change. And I think you'd be surprised how many you get there when you're not pointing it that way or behind you or up in the air. Like when you actually point it at the target, you don't have to be an amazing shot to hit the target. Now, it'll take some time to hit the bullseye, but I can hit the target pretty much every time. And it's because my mind is focused on reality, not on delusion, not on talk shows, not on fame, not on clicks, not on ego, on the truth, on clear perception of reality. And to do that, you can't be distracted by the noise. And I've noticed lately that people are getting tired of the noise. And they want to come to me and they want to listen and say, I've been listening to your research. I'm glad to hear from you again, because after you hear the noise, the truth can be rather refreshing, even if it's sometimes painful or uncomfortable, even embarrassing. It's still refreshing because you know it's real. And there's nothing better than real, is there? You can have all the delusion you want, but you're always going to come back to real. That thirst for reality, for perception exists in us, in our hearts. We know all this stuff out here are lies. We know we're being lied to, but who has time to fight it all? I know I don't. I pick my battles. I have made my point when it comes to how Ed built the Coral Castle and how he didn't die without leaving the secrets behind. He left them right in front of us. And I figured that out. And I discovered many of them. And I put them in books that you can buy and read. And we've fought that battle and we've won. But I keep hearing these lies being told to us by the people who I am supposed to be admiring the most. These physicists, these great minds, yeah, these great leaders in science are leading us in the path of ignorance and delusion and what will ultimately be destruction if we do not address it now. And we cannot address the UFO, UAP, extraterrestrial phenomenon until we address our own science. We must get our house in order before we can take on any guests. How do we understand superior technology when our own physics is so backward that we can't even recognize it? We see these crafts doing things that they say, it defies the laws of physics. No, it doesn't. It destroys them. And that is the problem. You see, when something defies the laws of physics, get yourself some new physics. Yeah? Is this hard? Is this hard to understand? To say, oh, this defies the laws of puzzles. Well, then get a new puzzle. Start looking at it correctly then, and then it won't defy your laws. If it defies your laws, then your laws are worthless. Yeah. You see, this is what Ed Leedskalnin's great battle was he built the Coral Castle, and people say, oh, it was impossible. No, it is the way it is with that attitude. It is with your science, but it wasn't impossible to him with his understanding. And he wanted you to come around to his understanding, and he left an enormous plethora of puzzles for you to find and decode and teach yourself how, just like he did. To see through the illusion he left, just like he saw through the illusion of physics. You get it? So That's our conundrum, is we are so poor at science that we don't have any way to even recognize these beings. But I don't think that's completely true. I don't think that you have to be a physicist to say that, oh, there are beings coming here. I'm not a classically trained physicist. I am not a not yet published academic in this field. However, I am much like Graham Hancock or Randall Carlson. I'm a civilian scientist, a rogue. Hmm? I'm a rogue, and the ones who bring about changes are not the ones who are walking in lockstep with mainstream academia, are they? No, it is always the rogues who challenge the mainstream, and therefore we are the catalysts for change. And that's the point. It's time for change, isn't it? It's time to give someone else a turn at bat. It's time to listen to alternative people who are bringing us realistic and logical thoughts on these subjects to which ufology is stuck on, physics is stuck on, the Space Force is stuck on, NASA, everybody else. You seem to be chasing your tail and not getting anywhere. And I have some ideas. I think it's time to listen to the intern who's been sitting in the corner quietly, copiously listening and taking notes and paying attention to everything you say. But this board meeting is getting a little stale, guys. And they say, well, does anybody have any suggestions? I'm the intern in the corner who's like, can I say something? Sure. Give the intern a shot. And that's where we are right now. I'm the intern who's going to get his shot. And, it's due to great people. It's due to great people who are helping me. And I mean more than just donating to the channel or buying books, which is all great and all very appreciated. But it's people like Chrissy Engel, who is like telling people about me and saying, I think we need to listen to this guy because he seems to be talking sense. In a world full of delusion, I hear something that sounds a lot like the truth over there, and I want more of that. And I think you might like it too. Hey, you ought to interview this guy. Like, I'm starting to get that kind of momentum now, and it feels good, and I want to make the most of that. They are out there. Go get them, boys. Go get them, guys. They're out there saving lives. But we have to start listening to people who make sense. And none of these people that I am listening to seem to make much sense to me. And is it just me? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think there are people who are like, it's time to open up and let somebody else have a turn at this because you guys have had your shot and you've gotten nowhere. All you've done is piggyback on what other people have said and have brought no new information. This is what prompted me, honestly, to write the book. Because I hear all these people saying this nonsense. People like Dr. Stephen Greer. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what he does? He collects stories. This is what he does. He collects stories from other people and then tries to pass those stories off as his own. And then if you try to raise up against that or call him out, well, he has a non-disclosure agreement that he's already had you sign, and he'll sue you into the Stone Age. Yeah. So he's a sociopath. And that is not going to help us. He's another talking head who gets a lot of press, but what's he doing though? What's he contributing? He's not. He hasn't had any actual genuine experiences. And believe me, again, charlatan, genuine article. You don't want to sit me and Greer in a room and have us talk about extraterrestrials because he will be exposed immediately. You know how I know? Because I've met these guys. I've met them. I've interacted with them. They have physically touched me. That's how close we've been. I've been this close to one of them. I know them. And someone who doesn't, it becomes very obvious that they don't. One of the other trademarks of honesty, of intellect, that I try to always maintain with myself, and something you never hear out of the Neil deGrasse Tysons or the Dr. Stephen Greers, are three little words: I don't know. You ever notice that? That Greer has an answer for everything. He knows everything. He has all the answers. I just can't tell you because it's above your pay grade. Or, he has this very condescending way of pretending as though he has all the answers. Then when you really try to pin him down, it's a mouthful of bullshit. It's just straight horse shit coming out of his mouth. This guy is trying to prop himself up as though he's an expert in extraterrestrial craft propulsion. Are you kidding me? You're an emergency room doctor. Where did you get your information from? Why don't you write it down like I did? You see, I have my theorems and my calculations and my formulas, and I put them down in a book you can buy, read, and see for yourself. What's this guy doing? He's making Netflix specials and being a celebrity. I'm not interested in being a celebrity. I'm interested in being productive. Thank you, Chris. I believe in you too. I do. And you've made me a believer. And hopefully the reason you believe in me is the same reason I believe in you, is because we put our money where our mouth is. Do you stand for something? Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And you're one of those people. And I'm gonna embarrass you a little bit, okay, Kirsty? I'm gonna embarrass you. You're one of those people who actually believes in things and then goes and acts on those beliefs. And that's what I do, and I like people like that. I want people like that around me because we're the ones who are going to get it done. I would rather have 10 of you than 10,000 of these others, and that's the truth. I need people who are real and are willing to plant their feet in the ground and say, this is the truth, and we need to listen. That's commitment, and that's worth its weight in gold. But these guys who pretend to have the answers for everything, yet contribute nothing. They don't invent anything. They don't produce anything. They have no evidence for anything. Nothing. They produce nothing but promise you the world. That's the problem. That's the delusion that people fall into. And they're like, oh, have you heard Dr. Stephen Greer? I'm like, oh, I've heard him. But see, here's why he fools people, is because how many people have had enough actual legitimate experience with extraterrestrials to go, that's a lie. That's not true. That isn't how that works. Nuh-uh. Because so few people have had those experiences, they assume it's true. There's no way to filter that information, is there? You just either want to accept it or you don't want to accept it. But there's, again, no actual rational baseline for them to base that decision on. They go by the confidence of the presentation, right? Well, he's wearing a tie. Bucket, and he must be legit. Meanwhile, I'm wearing my favorite dinosaur Christmas sweater. But they don't know how to say the words I don't know. And there's a lot. I've had actual, real, legitimate, physical, face-to-face interactions with these beings. I've had them communicate with me inside of my own head. I have dozens, hundreds of pictures of them in the sky, and I can match those pictures in the sky to effects on the ground, and you can see all those things in Beneath the Haunted Sky. And Chrissy, I can't wait for you to get your book. You are going to flip out when you see it. But I have actual evidence. I've actually met these guys on more than one occasion. They've interacted with me. They have informed me that I'm something or someone important in some way. They've given me things. They've given me the knowing stones that I have. They gave me these. I wake up with these things in my pocket and stuff. And I don't know why they give them to me, but they who's finding this on a beach? No, they gave this to me. I woke up with this in my pocket after they had taken me, and there was some ceremony. I guess it felt like a ceremony where one of these beings touched me right here and said, "Guardian," and that was it. And people were like, "What does that mean?" I don't know. I don't know. I think I mean, they told me later that basically that I'm one of the beings that they clone and reproduce with to make guardians. Guardians are bodyguards for them. I'm the guy who keeps you out of the club if they don't want you in, regardless of what species you are. They make more of me, and I'm the person who keeps you out of the club. Guardian. But I didn't know, like, at the time when that happened, because I told somebody close to me about it, and they said, "Well, what does that mean?" And I said, I have no idea what that means. And I was like, "Look, I woke up with this in my pocket." And they're like, "What does that mean?" And I'm like, "I don't know." You see, somebody who's had real experiences will not have all the answers. Somebody who's really paying attention in physics, they will not have all the answers. And we have people who are making a lot of money and getting a lot of attention pretending that they know everything. And I, for one, am damn tired of it, because they don't, and I can prove it. There isn't a single one of these people that you could put in a room with me in a battle of wits to the death and I wouldn't walk out unscathed. Not because I'm great, but because I care about the truth, that my weapon is aimed true. I am aiming true. And if I miss the target, I say so. If I don't know something, I say so. When this book comes out, people are going to have a lot of questions for me, and I'm not going to have all the answers. Having the answers give people warm fuzzies sometimes, but what I've learned is that people don't often want the truth. They want to imagine their own answers. That's what happened to me when I was on The Unexplained with William Shatner. They had me down at the Coral Castle to talk about things, my discoveries, but they didn't want me to actually talk about my discoveries, which I thought was so strange, until the producer told me something. And I said, "Well, what I know what that is." And I was like excited. I thought, "Oh, I'm going to take you around and I'm going to show you the constellation wall, and I can tell you about the secret schematic." And they didn't want to talk about any of those things. And I said, "Why not?" And he's like, the name of the show is not The Explained. It's The Unexplained. You see, people like mystery. They like not knowing sometimes, so they can imagine their own answers. And when you supply the answers, well, you rob them of that bit of joy. And I was like, wow, this producer knows so much more about human beings and their psychology than I did. Like, wow, you nailed it. People would prefer to remain stupid so they could supply their own delusion in order to maintain their sense of superiority. Yeah. I mean, I noticed this when I was doing my own Coral Castle research. I was making all these banging ass discoveries and putting them out. And the people who were the leaders, if you want to call them that, in the field of Coral Castle research, which basically boiled down to a handful of drunks working in their garage, they hated me because I was doing something that they could not do. You see, and I robbed them of the ability to just sit there and just keep making things up all the time. And that people wouldn't have the ability to argue with them because nobody knew the real answer. But when I started supplying answers and they go, "Well, yeah, but," oh, no, I guess that is right. Yeah, but, 16-point match. Oh, yeah. See, now their bullshit flies out the window now. Now they get exposed and they don't like that. And I could care less. I'm not here for all that mess. I'm here for the truth. I'm here for reality. I'm here for progress, because that is the only way that we make progress in the world. So I published this book, Beneath the Haunted Sky, because this is my next mission. You see, I've kind of exhausted pretty much everything I can do at this point with the Coral Castle. I have received the equivalent of a PhD in physics from Ed Leeskonen. I have learned that the way I see the world is valuable. And this subject, UFOs, UAPs, extraterrestrial abduction, and the species of the Greys, the Gray people, this is something I know a lot about. And I hear so many people out here just making up nonsense because nobody knows enough to challenge them. It's yet another field that I know a lot about, have had real practical experience, and that's rare. That's uncommon, and it is valuable in the way that I bring truth to the situation where it's so easy for people to lie and to be lied to. And I want you to know I would never lie to you about anything. Nothing in that book is a lie, and there are some really amazing experiences that I've had. But you need to know that they're true, so you know what truth looks like when you see it. And you can take what's in this book and you can compare it to what other people say, and you tell me if mine doesn't have that chocolatey, goodnessy taste of truth to it. And these guys taste like lies. I'm not saying that other people who have had different experiences than me or say things that are different than me are liars. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think we all kind of get a piece of the story, and we got to take those pieces of truth and put them together to see the picture and to get it into focus. But we have to have the folks like me who know the truth to say it, to put it out in a public format, to publish it, to risk. And boy, is it's a risk. I've already had people try to ruin my life over this, and in some ways they succeeded. But I don't care. You see, I don't care about that. I'm certainly not doing it for the money or the attention. I'm doing it because it's right. And what I tell you in Beneath the Haunted Sky, some of it may disturb you. Not you, baby. Not you. Talk about them. She's so cute. It may jar you a bit to see how graphic some of these experiences can be, about what some of my experiences have been. Well, come here, baby. Where are you? Come here. Come here. Oh, there's my girl. Here, she's gonna make her YouTube debut. This is my girl Nadja. Say hi, Nadja. Say hi. Oh, now you're quiet. This is my girl. I love her, but she's a needy beach sometimes. But some of these experiences are graphic, and some of them are jarring, and they're traumatic, and you need to know about them, and you need to know how to know if these things are happening to you, because I give you ways of knowing and recognizing the signs of abduction. There are marks that are associated with it. There are feelings. There are after effects. And there are timing occurrences that happen, which can perhaps help confirm, if you are doubtful about what is going on with you, that this book can help you be a guide. I even put in things about how to survive the trauma, the psychological trauma of alien abduction. And one of those things is to tell people. And I don't care what they think. You must live in your truth. You must trust yourself. Do you know how many times in my life I have had people try to tell me what to do, try to make me doubt myself, and I listen to me. You know, when my first book, the Leeskonen Codex, Breakthroughs in Understanding the Coral Castle, when I wrote that book, I sent it out to a couple of publishers. And that's what they said. They said, get the hell out of here. They said, you're never going to, nobody will want this book. The book's not long enough. The book doesn't go into enough detail. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we don't like the way you write. Because I'm autistic. I'm very just kind of matter of fact with it. All right. They said, nobody's going to buy this book. I had a lady who worked for a publishing house who had retired. And she emailed me personally on the side. And she's like, you know, if you want this book to be successful, you're going to have to do these things. And you're going to have to change this. And you're going to have to alter that. And you're going to have to say these things. And I did none of those things. I said, no. I mean, I didn't say it to her. She was very nice. And I thanked her for taking the time and the interest to try to help me. But no, I am uncompromising on certain things. And my voice is the voice I want people to hear. And so they said, well, if you self-publish, no one's ever going to read it. It's never going to get anywhere, da, da, da. So I basically broke all of the rules. And by breaking all of the rules, my book became a #1 bestseller in the physics of gravity. If I'd have listened to other people, my manuscript would be at the bottom of somebody's inbox right now, and no one would care, and no one would have ever gotten to read it. No one would have ever gotten to see my discoveries. I want my voice heard, not filtered through other people, not filtered through other processes, but what I want to say. And that's how you need to be when it comes to things like this. Like if you feel like you're being abducted or that something happened to you or you had an experience, then you need to express that in your voice. And you let people talk you out of it or bully you out of it or try to make you feel weird. Fuck that. They're weird because they don't want to hear what you have to say. Because if they're your friends or your family, then they love you and then they should understand and believe you. And if they don't, then to hell with them. But don't say to hell with you. Don't you do that. Don't you say to hell with my truth for the sake of other people. That's how we got into this problem to begin with as a species, that we'd rather give in to the popular delusion than the unpopular truth. That's no way to live. That's no way to conduct our business. I know, isn't Nadja gorgeous? She's my Ukrainian model girlfriend. I love her to pieces. But she sure is needy. She loves her some daddy. I know that. But don't let people talk you out of your truth. You live your truth. You say your truth. And the people who love you and accept you and believe you are the people who deserve to be a part of your life. Come here, baby. Those are the people who deserve to be a part of your life. And people who don't do that, they need to go. They need to go somewhere else. They need to get back on Facebook or POF or wherever they came from, but they don't need to be in your life. You need to be surrounded by people who love you and trust you enough to believe you when you say something. Hey, listen, I talk about in Beneath the Honest Guy that, you know, my first wife, we were together for 20 years. She was terrible. She didn't believe me. I was telling her all these things were happening and she didn't believe me. She kept gaslighting me and trying to deny everything and excuse everything away, everything except believe me when she knew. I would never do that. I don't need that kind of attention in my life. And I don't need to make things up to feel special or anything like that. And so we're not together anymore. and this subject, my abductions and my sightings and my experiences. I mean, how do you take a picture of a daylight UFO and you show it to her and say, this is happening a lot? And they go, it could be anything. Really? You think so either you think I'm a liar or a moron. You think I'm one of those, and I'm neither. So you need to, and that's what I do is I speak my uncensored truth, and I tell it the way it is because it's the way we need to live. We need a little less worried about being appropriate and a hell of a lot more worried about being honest and forthright and direct, because this is what is going to break the spell of delusion. Yeah. You see, when I wrote my first book and it became a #1 bestseller, it broke the spell of delusion that all these guys who were making videos and all these whack-a-mole theories that they had, well, now they're nowhere now. Their research died. They are seen for what they are: pretenders, charlatans, wannabes, liars. You see? And my work exposed that. And I did it once. Yeah. And I'm about to do it again with Beneath the Haunted Sky: The Evidence for Alien Abduction. If you read this book and you think at the end of it that I'm lying, get your money back. Because if you don't know the truth when you hear it, I feel sorry for you. Why would I do it? If you can look at all the pictures I put in that book and go, oh, that could be anything. No. Then you are just not able to be convinced by anything. But I'm telling you, this will be one of the most important books of this generation written about ufology. Come here, baby. Come here. Quit crying. Come here. You come here. Come see. Come on. It's getting around dinner time. So I think I'm getting a stern talking to by my lovely dear. I have 2 other ones that are around here somewhere actually behaving for once, so that's weird. They're probably up to something. I feel a disturbance in the force. So I'm going to have to get going here in a minute and feed my babies. But I wanted to celebrate. I want to bring you a news story that had to do with UFOs, UAPs, and the big lie that we are constantly being told that these guys have satellites, and they have infrared, and they have all this, and they couldn't find their ass with both hands. Just don't you think that's just an amazing amount of incompetence when somebody standing on the ground with a digital camera in 2008 is just wiping the floor with them when it comes to evidence? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. What does make sense to me is that we're being lied to, and we've been sold out. They know that they can't fight these folks. They know that we can't compete with them technologically or intellectually. There's probably no really out strategizing them. I mean, I want a piece off the board once, but you can't guarantee that that's really ever going to happen in a significant way when it comes to humanity. So what they've done instead is they've made deals. And the deal is that you can take people, put them back. You can take animals to a certain extent. You can do this and you can do that. Can we have one of those ships, though? Can we have a couple of them? If somebody crashes here and they just happen to die, can we have the body? Like, is that important to you guys? And they've made these deals. And they don't want you to know that they've made these deals, because then you'll know that our governments, that our leaders, that these black budgets and these black budget operators have thrown us under the bus. Maybe for the sake of peace, maybe for the sake of not having worse conditions. It could be a half measure to trying to keep us existing in our current state without having to completely give up everything of who we are. That could be true. But what I know is true is that we are being lied to. And I don't know why. Again, I don't know everything. But I do know when I'm being lied to. I'm like a human lie detector. You can't lie to me. I'm going to figure it out. You can get away for 5 minutes. Sure. And then I'm going to look at you. And I'm going to see it. And that's what I see when I look at these government agencies. How can these entire billion-dollar funded agencies get their ass kicked by a guy standing in his own backyard with a digital camera? Sorry, how did I win that? How did I become better than you? Maybe you should hire me as a consultant and I can show you how to do this on a shoestring. But They do know. They need the means to know about it first so they can cover it up, so they can keep you in the dark. And aren't you tired of being in the dark? I know I am. I'm tired of people lying to me when I know the truth. I actually know the truth and hear these people lying, and it just drives me up a wall. So I had to write this book. I had to publish this evidence. I had to show you what these guys give me and what they've told me, and the experiences I've had, and I have tangible effects. There's even some stuff I haven't ever shown you or talked about that's in the book that you're gonna be like, what is that? How how and yeah, I'm excited about it. 1 week from now, 1 week, 7 days. And I'm so excited. Beneath the Haunted Sky, the evidence for alien abduction. If you care about this subject and you care about the truth, you are going to want to pick this book up. It's $9.99 for the Kindle. It's $25 for the paperback, but the paperback is glorious. It's 8.5 by 11, full color pictures, really, really well done. I went to every effort and every expense, cutting my own profits down, because I want to bring you a book that you are going to show people and you are going to look through and look through for years to come. And you are going to be relying on that book because it is a chronicle. It is a science book. It is a book of evidence. It is a chronicle of experiences. It is inside information about the Greys. I tell you what their agenda is and I break it down. I tell you about who we are as a species and really how we came about. I have packed so much into 218 full color pages that you are going to wonder one day why you didn't buy 4 of them. Okay? I really went to that much trouble. You can ask anyone who's bought one of my books. You get your money's worth and then some. And I did exactly the same thing here. I have a vault of 20 years of pictures, and I was able to sit and cross match things, and I can show you that the shapes that I took pictures of in the sky had burned images. The same shapes are burned into my yard and into my neighbor's yard, and you can cross match this and that and time it with experiences, and you learn so much. You basically get my lifetime of experience condensed into 218 pages that you can hold in your hand and that you'll have to reference forever. I do recommend people get the paperback, but if you just can't wait, or you're more of a tablet person, a Kindle, Fire tablet person or whatever, it's $10. It's $10, and it doesn't matter to me which one you get, but I think most people would be more pleased in the long run with the paperback because it's just so much bigger and full color, and you'll be able to enjoy the images and be able to see things in the best format that I can bring it to you. I'm going to stop there for today. I'm going to go feed my kids, be a good dad, and I'm looking forward. A week from now, also, not only does the book drop, but I'll be getting interviewed by Jeff Mara. It'll be released, I'm sure, a couple days after that, but that's going to be big, and you're not going to want to miss that. If you don't know, I want you to go right now. after you pre-order the book, I want you to go and sign up for the Jeff Mara podcast, because I'm going to be on December 1st. It'll probably be put out a couple days after that, and you are not going to want to miss it. I'm very excited about, I don't know what he's going to ask me and what it's going to bring out. And I'm very curious about what questions people are going to have afterwards, after they hear the interview and they buy the book and they read it. I want people to come back to me with their questions and with their take on the book. I really do want that feedback, and positive, negative, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. It's all valuable. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I just decided to get on here and just rant for a while and just go off on things. But that's what's needed. That's what we need. We need kind of a not fancy person to just call things the way they are. Like, just call it out. Thanks, Chrissy. I can't wait for you to read it. I know that you especially, you're gonna really get something out of it, because I know you know the truth when you hear it. That's why you're here, not because I'm so popular. Kind of because of the opposite, right? So I'm gonna leave it there, and please click the link below. Pre-order the Kindle on December 1st. I would love for you to help make this a #1 bestseller in UFOs on Amazon, to really get this book attention that it deserves, and to give the truth the attention it deserves, to give all of the silent victims of abduction a voice. And I think that would be the greatest victory, is all of the silent victims of this phenomenon to be heard through this book, to be seen through this book, and to be believed through the evidence. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me. If you'd like to support me further, please check the description of this video, and it gives you several ways that you can do that. No matter which way that you decide to support this channel, I am very grateful for you, and you have a stake in this channel's future. I'm RL Poole. This is The Haunted Sky, and I'll see you again soon.